even if they are written in the Torah. We had some examples, for example, where the Gentiles will burn items, their clothing or whatever, when one of their kings died. So that was an idolatrous practice of them. But it's mentioned in the Tanakh also by one of the Jewish kings. So there was a debate. If it was mentioned in the Torah, maybe it's not considered an idolatrous practice. So according to Tosfos, it is. Also, another geder of what's considered a chukos hagoy is activities performed for no logical reason. There, if written in the Torah, they are not forbidden. Otherwise, if it's not written in the Torah, they're not forbidden. So something that's not really a practice of Avodah Zarah, but it's just a mishagas. Don't walk under a ladder. A black cat that walks in front of you. So these are, we're going to see, are activities that are performed with no reason. It's just shtus. Since it's not mentioned in the Torah, it's still forbidden. But if there is something that they do that is mentioned in the Torah, we would be allowed to do it. Now the Maharik gives another geder. The Maharik was a Rishon who was the main rabbi in Italy, and the Ramah many times, he's one of the major Ashkenaz. We have the Marami Rottenberg, right? He's buried in Worms. He was buried in, he lived in he lived like 1200, 1300. The Marami Rottenberg is one of the major Ashkenazi poskim that the Ramah always refers to. And the Maharik is another one of the Rishonim who was in Italy. So the Maharik says, Lanias Daiti, I'm reading on page 94, near the Dover Pashut, the Lola Esser Mishum Chok, the gather where the only times we're going to prohibit something as a chukos hagoyim, ela be'echad mishnei chalokim, two gedorim. Ha'echad, one, hu hadavar asher ein tamo nigle k'demash b'lashon chok. We don't understand what the reason for it. It's not based on logic. We're going to see people when they go into a movie theater and they take their hat off. That's based on logic. It's hot. So to feel more comfortable, they take their hat on. That's not a practice that's done without any kind of reason. But if they have some kind of practice without any kind of black cat or don't walk under a ladder or something like that, where there's no
out of respect. In the ball game, you used to be able to take I grew up. You take your hat off out of respect, whatever that means. It was a nonsense.
Well, hang on. We're going to see. The standing up for somebody if somebody important walks into a room, there's a custom to stand up. So we're going to see soon when they have the issue of standing for the siren on Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaShoah. Since there is a svara that since it is a kovedika thing, some are going to claim it's a chukas hagoyim, we're not allowed to do it. But they wanted to say, since it's standard practice to stand up for something, respect, and we're going to bring some rayas even from Tanakh, then we would have it sought to perhaps do such an activity. So the Maharik says, number one, if it has no logic whatsoever, we have to be concerned that it's a chukas hagoyim. And it could be that it's a forgotten practice, and it was based on Avodah Zarah, and we don't know. And since we don't know what the reason is, it could be based on an idolatrous practice, and that's why it remains prohibited. See,
But if you don't know, then it's not an idolatrous practice.
That's the opposite. Since we don't know what it's since the reason
you're not
doesn't
using it for idolatry.
No, but since the reason we don't, if it's something that makes sense that has a reason, so then we have a reason for it. But if it's a practice that has no reason, no logic behind it, so we're concerned that it originated as an idolatrous practice. V'teidet dekenu, and he says it's true. Sherikotuv b'smag mitzvos chukas hagoyim v'zelu shonim masech l'Shabbos mona koma shayita kabola b'yad chachmei mechukoseh v'dach gemari. There, the Gemara actually lists all sorts of practices at their time, in the times of Chazal, what were considered idolatrous practices. Everything there is something where we don't understand the reason. So that's how he lays this geder, that one of the gedorim, which is going to make it an idolatrous practice or chukas hagoyim that we don't follow, is it doesn't have any kind of reason. V'inyan hasheni yesh le'esor mishum chukas goyim lefi anias daiti hu hadavar asher shaykh bo nadnud pritzus Geder atznius, v'anova, inagu b'goyim gam ze asur. So, if there's a tzad in modesty, some kind of inyan regarding arayas, So that's the second aspect. If the practice seems to connect to that, that would be a reason to usher. Now, this is going to be no, it's a practice, but this is going to be a leniency because we're going to see if it doesn't have these two gedorim, we may be able to have a leniency. This is the marik. This is the rishon. Okay. So it's got to be like they used to dress a certain way, like this the fashion. So are we going to imitate them? So there were certain clothing that they wore that it was clear they wore it, let's say, at orgies, or where they were going to have some kind of pritzus, maybe a certain mask. We're talking about the time of the Middle Ages. Look at the Renaissance and everything like that. So they may have been dressed in certain costumes that would have been prohibited for us to wear because it's some kind of, we don't understand the reason why they're wearing it, and there's an involved pritzus. However, Belavishas HaKoppah, the koppah is a cape. A doctor would wear a cape so that people seeing him walk around the street would know he's a doctor. It was an advertisement. She'ein Isser B'dover. There, it's just an advertisement.
What happens if it's a witch?
Upshita de lo dami la'ois nashnum b'toisos arei tam levishasa yadua b'simenei yosam v'yasika b'chachma shehi. People who had certain wisdom would wear certain clothing. Ve'ein litlos levishasa kolecha l'to'elas animshach mimenu. Everyone would wear a certain thing. If he was a blacksmith or whatever, a uniform. Hein or machmas hakovid. Hein machmas revach mammon, or maybe he was going to make money because they knew what his profession is. Shemitoch yetze lo sham bosa chachma. Uman dekoiv le kivelazel levias b'kaikav lo shaykh le'esor. He says we should not prohibit this. Ma'achar shadavar mochiach she'en miskavin listam le'le'ah. We're not following the practice because we want to be like a Gentile. It's because we're in a certain profession and we want to identify as what it is. So according to Marik, Chukas HaGoyim includes only actions initiated by non-Jews. So if it's a Jewish practice, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a practice socially done, initiated by Gentiles. And we don't have a makor for it in our Torah or in our tradition. And we want to do it. So if it's clearly based on idolatry, or the logic behind the action is unknown, that's number one. And if it's problematic because it's immodest, then we would not be able to do it. However, actions that have a clear reason behind them are permitted. And the Ramah in Shulchan Aruch follows the Marik. Let's read the Ramah in Yoredei Kufayin Ches. The Kol Zeh Eino Osir Ela B'Dover Shenagu Avik Chavim L'Shum Pritzus. He says if it's a dover pritzus, Kigon Shenagu Lilbosh Malbushim Adumim, they would wear red clothing when they would have those kind of parties. Or V'hu Malbush Sorim Kadom Lezeh. Or for example, the priests or other officers would wear that. Or bedavar shenag leminig v'lachok ve'ein tam bedavar. Or it's a certain kind of practice where we don't have a reason for it. Since we don't know the origin of the practice, it makes no sense. We're concerned that it arose from one of these practices of the Darkei HaMori that Chazal didn't want us to do. Or sheyesh bo shemetz avodas kochavim avosayim. Or it's some kind of idolatrous practice that they inherited from their forefathers. They themselves don't know why they do it, but it may be related to that. For example, knock on wood. Right? So people will knock on wood. That comes, it have to do with a wooden crucifix, that they would knock on it, or it stems from that. We don't know but that may be that it's related to that. But something that has a toeles, a function. If he was an expert doctor, Molière, in The Imaginary Invalid, famous French playwright in 1600, 1700, he made fun. At that time, the doctors knew nothing. George Washington was killed by the doctors. They phlebotomized him. And they came in pomp and circumstance. Each one wore different clothing, and it was a joke. And Molière satirizes that. And many other playwrights, Racine and others, satirized the physicians of that period of time, but they were known by their clothing. And of course, there must have been many Jews who were doctors. We know the Sforno was a doctor, trained in 1400, 1500 in Padua, one of the first medical schools. In Bologna was one of the first medical schools that existed in Europe. And we know that there's data that there were Jews who already were physicians at that time. Yeah, but the Rambam didn't learn in a medical school. The Rambam must have learned, they would do, apprenticeship with a doctor, something like that. But the university system already was existent at the time, and the first medical schools were in Italy during the Renaissance time, and there were known physicians who went to that school. The Vilna Gaon, the Gra, argues with the Ramah, and holds that any custom or statute, if it's initiated by Gentiles, is forbidden, unless we would have somehow ended up practicing it nonetheless. Maybe it's so obvious that Jews would have done it as well. The Vilna Gaon argues, otherwise we forbid it. Now, the Sridei Eish, Rav Yechiel Yaakov Weinberg.
You see, I understand that if a goy, we're not talking about a Avodah Zorah, we're talking about a
Practice.
goy.
No, a
okay?
practice.
That
No,
comes
a
from
practice, way of clothing, a way of cutting your hair, an activity. That's what Chukos HaGoyim are.
Oh, okay. It's not something someone invented.
That's why I
you know
keep
what
on
mean?
saying,
If
like,
someone invented, if a
don't
goy
walk-
invented
if a
something,
black-
you're not
well-
allowed to utilize it. That's not what it means. Then.
No. We're not talking about. We're talking about when the Beatles all of a sudden wore Beatles haircut.
All right.
Is a Jew allowed to follow that kind of haircut? So we would say today, probably yes. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. It's not pritzus. Probably has nothing to do with avodah zarah. What's the logic for it? The logic had to do with their hair at that time. But what we're saying is, if there was a minute to wear certain clothing or to have a certain practice, where we don't know the reason for it, and it had some kind of thing to do with pritzus, the Marik prohibited its use. The Sridei Eish, just want to lay the picture of the Sridei Eish. The Sridei Eish died in 1966, lived in France, but he studied in Lithuania, eventually ended up in Germany, became a PhD, studied philosophy, and was the major posek in the 30s and 40s when the Nazis tried to institute no shchita. So the Sridei Eish wrote a famous tshuva on how you can do it with stunning or not stunning. And the Sridei Eish walked a very fine line between Mizrahi and Aguda, so that in 1966, when he was buried in Israel, there was a fight, literally, over his coffin, because he was being buried by the Mizrahi. Professor Mark Shapiro, wrote the biography on the Sridei Eish, and eventually the Lithuanians took him and buried him with them because he was such a great posek, but he really walked the fine line. The famous tshuva on Bas Mitzvah, that for psychological reasons, the girl is going to feel psychologically affected. So he was more lenient about Bas Mitzvah, etc. So the Sridei Eish is a modern posek. He explains the Gra that because it's a Gemara in Sanhedrin that said that even if it was logic in the practice, and it wasn't mentioned in our Torah, it's their practice and we're not allowed to follow it. And he says, the Biur Gra, Hiksha ala Marik, the Marik that we just quoted, that said that there had to be two Gedorim, there had to be an aspect of Pritzus in order to say it's prohibited. The Gra argues, and on the Ran, who was also more lenient. Shekosfu she'ein iser ela b'davar she'ein botam, o shehu mishum pritzus misugi de Sanhedrin, she'ita sham rabbanon kiven dechsiv sayif baraisa lo minayu kogamrinon. Remember, we said, for example, the sword. We talked about the sugya where since the goyim were beheading with a sword, well, maybe we shouldn't do that, but we have swords mentioned in the Torah. The ilot, and so he gives the sword like this. The ilot emachi hadatanya sorf and alamalachim. Remember, they used to burn things when their kings died. V'haksiv uvachol koseim lo seilecho. How can we do it? Elakiva dechsiv streifa baraisa lav minayu kakamina. Since it's written in the Torah, we didn't learn it from them. It was a practice that was originally Jewish. V'chanami. And here as well, kiven dechsiv streifa baraisa. Since the sword was mentioned in the Torah, lav minayu kakamina. V'hasayif yesh botam. But there's a reason why you're going to use a sword. The kupitzi misa menuvelas, because chopping the head off with an axe from behind is a very bizoyondik. And I guess with the sword, it's not as bizoyon. No, and burning for the king. So you want to bring a proof that you see, if it wasn't for the fact that it was written in the Torah, it would still be usher. due to this
So
question,
did they do it, Shia done it for the back then?
No, you
The
couldn't do it for the
guillotine?
back.
How do they do a
no,
guillotine? How do we do it? Guillotine?
no, we don't, no. The goyim would put the head down
Right.
and chop it off with an
Chop
axe.
it.
That's a menuvelas.
How do we do
The
it?
person stood up and he was beheaded.
Which one, I don't know, it was more Bezoyan, I don't know, but
Well, the Gemara said it was more bizoin to lie down like a piece of meat and have your head chopped off.
the guillotine, they put it in.
Exactly, that the guillotine was very maneuver. And the Bir Agra, Ela the Vadai HaKol Oser, Rakdavka Lilmod Mehem Oser. Any type of learning for them is Oser. Kivin Diksiv Lo Minai Gamrinon. V'lavdavka Mishum Diksiv Baraisa. Even if it's written in the Torah, Ela Kol Dover Shahainu Osim Zelosan Mutter. If we would have done it on its own, it's permitted. Otherwise, it's Oser. So let's summarize. According to the Ran, Marik, and Ramah, there's no prohibition to follow actions of Gentiles if it has a logical reason. According to the Vilna Gaon, there's still a prohibition unless we would have done it on our own. Rav Avadia Yosef notes that the majority of poskim follow the Ramah. Skamas poskim are Rishonim v'Achronim. She'ein yisur v'choseim lo soheku noeg ela kishoyis davar meshuna she'en botam klal. If you do an action that has no reason, ela sha'akum oisim kain, only because Gentiles are doing it, so you're copying it. Shekein mashmos loshon chok. Chok refers to something like the paraduma that we don't understand the reason for. So if it's a certain Gentile practice that we don't really understand the reason why they're doing it, it's also for us to follow it. Believe Tam
Chok
Soch.
is only about Jewish halacha that we don't understand. Well, why should we?
But-
well, we don't understand the
So
goyim.
Rav Avadia
Why is
Yosef,
that called a
so
chok?
Rav Avadia Yosef is comparing it to chok. He's saying, just like by a chok we don't understand the svara, if it's a practice that the Gentiles do that we don't understand where it came from, that's a chisoron. Sha'az nireh vadei kish nimshach achrei mumodelehem. If we just follow their practice, and even though there's no logical reason for why they're doing it, it looks like we're following in their ways, and we're agreeing to it. V'anu choisheshin, but we're concerned, shama shemetz avoda zor bideya. We're concerned that over the thousands of years, it really started as an avodah zarah practice, and if we're doing it, it's going to be problematic. Uv'meshech hashonim shochachu atam. Over all these many years, they forgot what was the reason behind it. V'chein kishadavar hu yesh bo pritzus. V'yotzer migerat tznius. If it's some kind of the mini skirt is now a new fashion. Well, that's certainly pritzus. That would be something that we would be advised not to follow. V'nogu ba'akum. Also, kein lidamus l'goyim gam b'zeh aser. Avalam ein echad matam ala l'muter. But if it's an action that's not pritzus, if an action that has some kind of understanding for it, as we're talking about taking your hat off or standing up and respect somebody, and somebody we would have done it anyways, or has a basis for it, then it would be
Okay, what
permitted.
about, here's a question, in a shul, I'm not sure if this falls in any category. When someone gives a speech and the speech is good, some people clap, some do not clap. Not because they don't want to, but they think halachically you're not allowed to clap. Are you allowed to clap? Or
I
is
don't.
it because it's
Based on
following
this,
the
it would not be
convention?
considered a chukas hagoyim.
It's not.
It would not be considered chukas hagoyim.
I don't think it addresses you or not, but.
No, but it wouldn't be considered a chukas
We
hagoyim.
have things that were definitely Jewish, for example, there was a custom of, in the Gemara, it talks about throwing grains.
Yes,
at
at a wedding.
couple.
Yes.
That's where throwing rice comes from at Goyish weddings, and as a result, because they adopted that, we stopped doing it.
But it's not written in Torah, so that might be enough kamina. Remember, we said if it's written Doraisa, so they brought Sreif al Amlachim and they brought Cherev. So Chaim makes a good point. There is Chazal on it, but that's not what the Marik said. There had to be, or Tosfos had to have a basis in the Torah and Tanakh.
Also, I believe, unless I'm wrong, that there used to be a tradition that we used to bring flowers to a gravesite.
Hang on, we're gonna have flowers tonight.
We are?
We're gonna have flowers tonight.
Okay, good.
There is a dispute among the poskim whether the Isra of Chukas Hagoyim is limited to the list of activities mentioned by Chazal in Shabbos 67, or whether one must refrain from any unique activities that they do, for example, in this generation. Chazal listed a whole list of things that they did then. So the question is it only those things that are Asr? Or let's say there's been newer ones or in our generation. So the Hagos...
You said before that if any custom you're not sure what the origin of is, you forbid it because they may have been.
It may have started that way.
Yeah, so, I mean that's like an open-ended.
But there is this shaila about can you expand the list of what Chazal mentioned in the Gemara there.
Right.
So the Hagos Maimon cited the Uraim that only actions mentioned by the Chazal are prohibited. So, Bernie, there is a shita that if it's not one of those practices, it would Bichlal doesn't fall on Chukas HaGoyim. The Bach argues, and we are noyeg like the Bach, and that according to the Rambam and others, there are different actions in every generation that are forbidden. Let's see that goes Maminas. Kosof Ha're'ein, she'ein lahosif misra ma shemon ha'chachamim. We're not supposed to add to the list of the Chachamim that they had in the Gemara. Sh'aisa Kabbalah biyodim shumu chukasav de Chachamim. But the Bach in Yoredeya, in this sugya, v'kach kosof asmad, in Lavim Nun, which is the 50th mitzvah, Mazir, Shea Yisrael moved them in a goyim. We have to be separate from the goyim. B'malbush, clothing, b'minag, in our customs, b'dibur. V'kach shitas aposkim, u'deloka Rabbi Elazar mitz. Ela ikar shebechol ma shemiyuchad lahem tzarcha Yisrael yos nivdal mehem. Anything that is especially that we know that the Gentiles do, we should be separate from that. Afal pi she'enu niska b'divrei Chavosenu Zal, even though it's not mentioned by Chazal in the Gemara. Ki Rabosenu Chal izkiru advarim she'enu hagim hagoyim b'osna yomim. Chazal only mentioned those things that were prevalent in their time. So the Bach is clearly bringing it up to his day and to our day. He says the Gentiles will do practices in their time. The accepted halacha follows the opinion of the Bach. Then Gentile practices in every generation that fit the condition of Chukos HaGoyim are included in the prohibition. If so, it is possible that certain contemporary Gentile practices may be forbidden. And in the next sections, we'll examine a number of these in detail. So again, like we've done week after week, we have just now laid the groundwork. We understand the Machlokas Rishonim, we have Tosfos, we have the Marik, and then we have how the Ramah Paskin, and we have what the Yalkut Yosef generalized regarding the general practices. Now let's go into individual practices, Bisman Hazeh, our time, to see whether anything falls in this category. The contemporary poskim are on page 98. Discuss whether attending events at theaters, you go to a Broadway play, or stadiums, you go to a football game, should they be prohibited? We have already seen this issue mentioned in the Sifra in Rashi. If you remember, those that weren't here last week, Rashi mentioned Chukos HaGoyim. It said tertarios and it's stadiums. He actually mentioned stadiums, and we brought, Tosfos explained, because part of that process was they would have a statue there, all the athletes would bow down, there would be a mamish avodah zorah carried out there. Okay. So the Rambam brings it, v'mitzvah hashloishim, the 30th mitzvah is shizarinu milachas midivrei hakoifrim, we should not go according to the heretics, u'misnag b'minhagosam, we should not practice their practices. The way they gather in halls. This is the Rambam in Sefer Mitzvahs.
Typo there.
Lashon Sifra, don't go according to their ways. Kegon, Tartios, theaters, Karkasios, circuses, Vistratios, stadiums. The Eluheim minim minamoshavim, Shahayim miskapsim b'lavos chatzlamim. He says these are places that they would gather for Avodah Zarah. However, Rishonim disagree with regard to the nature of this prohibition. The Rambam states that there's a prohibition to build and maintain edifices similar to buildings of idolatry for public use. He says it's also for us to build big stadiums where thousands of people come in, because that seemed to be their practice. But the Sefer HaChinuch argues, though, that the reason for the Britain to visit such places is because they are places falling in idolatry. So if you build something and it's not falling in idolatry, technically, according to the Chinuch, you'd be able to build it. Let's see how he says it. This was done at that time, idol worship, acts of pritzus, which seems to imply that if you build something like that and retain it, and it doesn't have those activities, it wouldn't be prohibited. What is the halacha regarding going to modern day theaters and sports stadiums? Rav Moshe Feinstein rules that there is no problem of going to sports stadiums and the like, at least in terms of Chukos HaGoyim. However, he rules that it is inappropriate for other reasons. because you're in a place of frivolity, and you're doing bittul Torah, you're abandoning Torah study. Let's see Rav Moshe. He was asked, Im osir mitzad b'chukoseim lo solechu, lalechas leteatron, going to theaters. Rav Moshe lived on the east side of Manhattan. He certainly knew that people went to Broadway plays. V'itstadin sport b'yameinu, or sports stadiums in our day. Be'elu shenikraim teatron she'osim sham inyanei schok. He's talking about comedies, right? Or, they make a...
Or a musical, whatever it is.
Right, it's a schok. Frivolity. V'chein itztadin. Shehem ha'makomos mesachkim sport, or they're playing sports. Lo yishayich b'hu inyan uv'chosem l'sleichu. He says very clearly, it does not fall under the category as uv'chosem l'sleichu. Dehu davka kishu chok la'akum, la'asos eze davar ba'alma. He says, chukos hagoyim is when they do something where there's no reason for what they're doing it. Aval kishe'iketam l'masha osi. But if there's a reason for why they're trying to make money. This is a business. Kahadi itzdadim shehula leitzonos. It's a frivolous behavior. Lekaba mishum avodah zara. Af shehu davar osir mitzad isra leitzonos. You can't go to a place where it's just leitzonos is like a clowning shtus.
Cabaret.
Rav Moshe says that you have no business being there, but not for chukos hagoyim, dear. V'kol ha'oilech sham oiver be'isr moishav leitzim. You should not sit in a moshav leitzim, a bunch of people who are just cracking jokes. There's no business for you being there, and you have bittul Torah. Lo rak alzman zeh, ela shegorem lo liyos botel legamri mitorkim for sham. The kosher came b'tiatron and imtza ke'et b'mnaseinu. He says certainly theaters. V'chein etztadin shel mischakei sports stadiums. V'af b'mdinos acheros, he says even other countries. The oisen says stam inshi manochrim shebeir. People are doing it in the city. Goyim shelo shaycha klal inyan avodah zara. Uchemedumoni, he says, I think shakumorim de'emunas anotzim, that the Christian ministers shehi atay emunas rov
Also,
Rov Umos Ha'olam, he says the majority of the world are Christian today. Nami lo nichalahu inyanei teatron. The ministers would also advise their people, don't go to theaters, don't go to stadiums. It's also something that they wouldn't necessarily approve of. So he wants to say it's a Kal V'chomer. It's certainly not avodah zarah because their ministers also don't advise their people to go. V'gam lo nicha b'zeh la'anshei emunos ha'mechumadim. He says the Muslims as well. Shu emunas medinos Turkey, v'chol medinos Arab and Arabia. She'im kein rov ha'medidon sheben nimtzaim teatron, and there are many theaters and stadiums in those countries too. Lo shaychi klal, has nothing to do with their religion. Shavani lo shaychi la'lav d'b'chol lo selechu. Elahei mi isur leitzonus u'bitul Torah. V'gam od isur godel yesh the megari yetzer hara shel arayus b'nafshei. It stimulates a person's yetzer hara. Deruban heim divrei nivul peh v'hasos el arayus. It's bad language and scantily clad women, which leads to arayus. So Rav Moshe certainly was not encouraging people going. He just said it doesn't fall under the category of chukos hagoyim. So, the Beis Yosef cites a dispute regarding the custom of kaparos, that Erev Yom Kippur, you get a chicken, you shecht it, and then while it's alive, you first twirl it over your head. Is that forbidden as a chukos hagoyim custom? Says the Beis Yosef, right? Rav Yosef Karo, the commentary on the Tur. Of course, Rav Yosef Karo eventually wrote the Shulchan Aruch, but it's based on his Beis Yosef. Yesh komos shenohagim lishchot tarnegol lechapara. He says there are places where they would do for atonement, they would shecht a chicken. V'chein yesh b'tshuvas ha'geonim. Ha-Mordechai b'Masechta Yuma, Kozva Minik. So the Mordechai, one of the Rishonim, in Masechta Yuma, he brings this minig of kaparos. It's a very early minig. Uminag ze kosuv gam b'tashbatz, which is another Rishon. The kosuv sham, shenohagim likach tarnegol l'zochar v'tarnegolos l'nekeva. They would take a male rooster for a male and a hen for a female. The harash b'kosuv b'tshuva, Be'inyan HaKapara, she'oisim l'narim be'erev Yom HaKippurim, and minhag zeh poshut b'yireinu, ve'afu pi sheshamati, pi anoshim hagunim, me'ashkenaz. The Beis Yosef is saying, even though he had heard from many great tzaddikim in Germany, shekol ravnei artzam oisim kain, it was an Ashkenaz minig. V'gam shamati shenishal Rabbeinu Hai Gaon, right? Rabbeinu Hai is Rabbeinu Hai Gaon, lived about 900, 1,000. V'omer shekei nagu im kol zeh mo'anati aminag hazeh mireinu. The Beis Yosef said he prevented this minig in his city. Because of Baruch Chayim, sheRamban osur mishum darkei Amori. That the Ramban said that the Kaparis is a darkei Amori. Based on his opinion, the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah argue whether Kaparis are permitted. He said, the Shulchan Aruch himself says, Masha Noagim, Lasus Kapor Be'erev Yom HaKippurim, Lishchot Tarnagol, Al Kol Ben Zocher V'lomer Lav Psukim, Yesh Limnoa Minag. We should stay away from that minag. Says the Ramah, Yesh Ma'ago Onim, Shekasvu Minag Zeh. V'chein kasvu also Rabbi Min Achronim. V'chein Nohagim B'chol Medinos Elu. Medinos Elu, the Ramah lived in Krakow, Poland. He's talking about the Medinos of European Jewry, Germany, France. Ve'en l'shanos ki hu minim vasikin. So machlokas mechaber the Ramah about kapars. What does Ovadia Yosef say? Now you would think Ovadia Yosef is going to follow the mechaber. However, ikar minig kapars eno minig muskam l'chol hadeos. He starts off by saying it's not a generalized agreed to minag. Elish b'chol zos kvar poshet minig hazeh. He says it's a very prevalent minig. Gametzel Sfardim ve'edus HaMizrach. He says even Sfardim and from Iraq are doing it. Uchdas HaGaonim. Umat gam sharbim rabbonim arishonim heviu la'aloch minag hakaparos. V'chein kosav hagon Rabbi Yosef Chaim beBen Ish Chai. Right, the Ben Ish Chai was a Sephardic posek in 1850, died 1910, something like that. And he wrote a nice parsha on Chumash, where in each part of the parsha he brings halacha. V'hanach lam Yisrael im einam neviim b'nei neviim heim. So this is the issue of kapars. What about walking
So
without?
that has nothing to do with animal cruelty. Basically, it's really,
Well, animal
people
cruelty.
didn't believe it.
Well,
People-
animal cruelty. We shecht all of our animals. So what's the cruelty? I mean, turning them
Yeah,
over,
right,
turning
doing
them
the
over
right
your head?
thing, making that. That's the whole question right
No,
now.
the
That's
question
why
was
you wanna
chukas.
abolish it.
The question was chukas hagoyim.
No one says chukas hagoyim.
We just read it.
No, but no one right now, no one at this table understood that as a chukas hagoyim.
I understand. That's why we're learning it. I agree 100%. What about walking without a kippah? Are you participating in chukas hagoyim? Because Gentiles walk without head covering. If you're going along with that, maybe you're violating chukas hagoyim. Concerning this, the Shulchan Aruch writes, "Asur leilech b'komas kufa." So first of all, a person is not supposed to walk around in a haughty fashion with his head up. And then he says, he doesn't use the word asur. He says, "V'lo yelech dal amos begilu yarosh." You shouldn't walk 4 amos with a head uncovered. Rav Shalom Ashash, a great Sephardic posek, contemporary of Rav Ovadia Yosef, that many followed Rav Ashash as well, he interpreted this as an absolute chiyuv. But Rav Ovadia Yosef says it's only a midas chasidus, wearing a kippah.
That's why a lot of Sephardim don't wear. Even
V'chein
though-
muchach miloshen maran b'shulchan aruch. Let's see how he's medayik. He says, "Asur leilech b'komas kufa," but only v'lo yelech arba amos b'gilei rosh. Harei shehizchil b'loshen iser. He starts off by saying it's prohibited to walk with a head high, but v'siein shelo yelech arba amos b'gilei rosh v'lo tofas loshen iser. The afal pishi yedidenu harag Rav Shalom Ashash harav agon not to gov loimer shedas marna beis Yosef lesser min adin alechos b'gilei rosh. He argues. He says it's not an iser. However, just so we know, the Taz. Remember, the Shach and Taz are the Rishonim in the year 1650, 1700, who are the major commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. So the Taz says, "Venerally, sheyesh iser gomer mitam acher." The Heiner. So he wants it like this: if you go without a kippah, there's another problem. Kivan shechokhu achshav beina akum she'oisin kein tomid. Gentiles, that's their practice, that they walk around uncovered. In fact, Tekev sheyoshvin porkim aleim hakoiva. The moment they sit down, they take their head off. Im kain, ze nichla bechlal uvechkoseim lo seilechu. Kol sheken b'chod zeh sheyesh tam dekisei rosh mar al yiras shamayim. And not only that, the whole issue of putting it on is that we show that there's somebody higher than us. Vada yarchik atzmo b'zeh yoter mishar chukoseim. You should avoid that practice among other of their practices. And the Mishnah Brura, who in general Ashkenazi Jewry today follow, paskins like the Taz. V'yeshem et tzadim lomar dafilu dal damasena osir medina rak latznu b'masein, that really there's no prohibition of going for ames without gilui rosh. It's only for sort of high-minded individuals, tznuyim, but it's not really osir. But says the Mishnah, "Rav kvar kosav taz lekam b'simchas b'zmanenu isur gomer medina lios begilui harosh v'afilu yoshe beveso ayin shamatam v'chein kosav b'tshuvas mari bruna." So, despite this ruling of the Mishnah Brura, whose rulings usually are accepted as halacha b'Ashkenazim, again we're saved by Rav Moshe, who argues that in our generation, all would agree that there is no prohibition of chukas hagoyim in this case, because head coverings are not worn primarily for reasons for comfort, rather because of a specific intentional practice. He says like this: Hinei pashut al nias daiti. The af mashu hu vadei nechshav choka akum im hu davar shechazinan sheoisin ken kula alma denochrim. If we see that the whole world is practicing a certain thing, gamela shelo shaychik klal le'emunasom chokasem, people have nothing to do with avodah zarah. Mitam sheken yoser nichala amal anosam. It's just more comfortable for them. So kvar leka al ze iser de bechokosem lo selech. He's going to say like this: it became the practice to eat healthy food. So what? Because they're doing it, we're not going to eat healthy food, right? V'gam pashut shim yasu akum chok lavodah zar shleim lechol eze min midvar matovim varuim lachila. Let's say even if they did it for some kind of avodah zarah practice. Let's say they're going to eat cucumbers. They're going to use cucumbers for it's very healthy. We're not going to prohibit the use of cucumbers. So he says the fact that Gentiles sit with an uncovered head, even that has nothing to do with Christianity. The people are atheists; they don't believe in anything. They sit in the summer in their house in hot weather without a hat on, and then that's how they go out outside as well. It feels more comfortable for them. Therefore, that's not a reason going against the Taz. Only Rav Moshe could do that. But Rav Moshe went against the Taz and says, Bisman hazeh certainly, perhaps. Because there are going to be commentators who say that in the time of the Taz and Chanami, it was a practice that was done by their noitzrim, etc. But that's certainly afla Taz. America, Medinas Europe, Holchem v'Yoshim v'Vateim Misradim in the office, Barosh Megula, Shurak Lanosam, V'lo Ezem Muna Be'ez Avodah Zarah. They're not doing that because of some kind of belief in Avodah Zarah. Rak b'mos hataz.
How do they have food, for example? Like there are new foods that we adapt from the Goyim. Pizza, sushi. We never had that when we were young here.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with a Gentile practice. It has nothing to do with Avodah Zarah.
No,
it's done lahana, so we're allowed to do it as well.
But it was developed by them. That was a favorite thing for them. That we just took it over.
Okay,
for them.
so
Nobody ever had.
so Rav Moshe would based on what we just learned, Rav Moshe would answer you and say, why did they develop pizza? Is it for an Avodah Zarah practice? It's because it tastes good.
Right,
so
okay.
it's for their hana. So the fact that they're doing
can
it for
take
them,
it.
we can do
Maybe
it as
foods
well.
that were more tied to their holiday, like eggnog. I mean,
Oh,
that's
if
more-
it's tied to their holiday, so that's going to be a different problem.
Eggnog,
But
for
pizza
example.
is not. Or if the fact that we eat Chinese food or Italian food, it's not. It's based on the fact that we enjoy that cuisine. So let's see. But the Taz, the Achrav like Karvlas Manenu, he says Beruslan de Bepoilin, Hayu Pshute Ha'am da Akum Gan Ken Hochum Be'etzem Abusheim Gam Bekova. He says it was a practice that they always wore hats. In fact, they would wear their hats in the house. There was some kind of practice that he did it that way. There's certainly no Isser in our time. So he says like this: if you can't get a job, because they won't take you if you wear yarmulke, you can accept the job. There's no Isser. Doesn't make a difference what the intention of the management, why they don't want you to wear it. You can take the job that way. However, he wants to quote that the final thing, the importance of wearing a kippah in our generation. He wants to quote Rav Ovadia Yosef. Even though we brought from Shulchan Aruch, it seems like it's a midas chasidus only. He wants to say it's more than that. So he says today, the minig of Jews who are giving up Yiddishkeit, Torah mitzvahs, the first thing they do is they throw off their yarmulke. So that's we have to identify with those that worship Hashem.
But like you
it's sort of a symbol of being dati. So people look at him might think, oh, he's rejected Judaism. Rav Ovadia Yosef knows that there are Americans who've made aliyah. He sees them walking around without a kippah. Because that was their way they worked in America. But you can't base your general halacha on that, because that's the minority of a minority. This wants to say it may not be a prohibition, but it's a little bit, it's more than midas chasidus. What about standing for the siren in Israel on Yom HaShoah? In Israel, a siren is sounded throughout the country every year on Yom HaShoah, which represents remembrance of the Holocaust, and Yom HaZikaron, which is the day before Yom Ha'atzmaut, to remember those who perished in the Holocaust. To remember those who perished as victims of terror who have fallen in the various wars and battles in Israel.
No, different days, right?
It's the day. Yom HaShoah is Kafchet Nisan, 20th of Nisan. It's very controversial that was established like that. It was established because it's connected to the Warsaw Ghetto. And the 1948, the founders of the state wanted to represent that it wasn't just Jews going to the slaughter, but there was a heroic stand. So that's why Kafchet Nisan was established. A big debate among Revel Brisk and the Chazon Ish. We already have Tisha B'Av, and we already have Asar B'Tevis. So they said Asar B'Tevis, we will start doing Yom HaShoah. So the debate of whether a new day should have been created. But on that day, at 11 o'clock in the morning, a siren goes off. Everybody on the freeway stops their car. They get out. I was in Yom Ha'atzmaut last year. Those of you who've been there, the day before Yom HaZikaron, literally there are millions of people who are at the cemetery. Here we have Memorial Day in America, and it's supposed to be for World War I, World War II, but how many people really go? There, mamish, every single Jew is at a cemetery. I was in Kiryat Arba, in the military cemetery in Hebron. There were 5,000 people in attendance, and 4 jets flew over, but 1 jet peels away, so there's like an absent jet. The mamish maybe 100 feet above us, and that's at the time that the siren was. So I didn't see the freeways because I was in the cemetery at the time, and that goes on. And on that day, millions of people go visit the cemeteries for the people who not just fell in the Independence War, but all the wars and all the terrorists. Okay. So during the time the siren is sounded, the custom is to stop what one is doing, stand, and remain silent during the duration of the siren in tribute to the fallen. In some religious circles, this has become a contentious issue, as some believe that standing silently during the siren is a violation of Chukas HaGoyim. Based on the sources we have seen, it would seem that the Marik and the Ramah would permit it, since there's certainly a logical reason for such a practice, while the Gra might forbid it, as it may not be a practice that Jews would have initiated on their own had it not been drawn from a non-Jewish source. Against this background, modern poskim have offered their halachic opinion on the matter. Rav Tzvi Yehuda Kook, right, the son of Harav Avram Kook, the first chief rabbi, felt that it is not only is it a violation of Chukas HaGoyim to stand silently for the siren, that it's not a violation of Chukas HaGoyim, but it's a mitzvah to honor the fallen. Let's hear his language. He published this in Tchumin, which is a Torah journal. Amida bizman tzfira lechalalei tzal. The tzfira is the siren. Yesh ba mitzvah kedusha shel zikaron kavod kodshim. Umavor bekedushas divrei Rabbeinu Bali HaTosfos Masech Avodah Zarah. Befeirush. Shelo kol ma shemesuder ben hagoyim yesh bo mishum b'chukasem lo salechu. Not everything that the Gentile practices is it fall under that category.
What was the half
Ela im yesh bo mishum hevle avodah zarah shel hagoyim. Balachas kama v'kama kasher nikeres haprishim mizeh b'rabim. But it's in a very public manner that we're not doing it avodah zarah. But the Yalkut Yosef, Ovadia Yosef, is more ambivalent. B'mekom shenogim lashmiat tzfir b'chol ha'ir, l'zikaron chalei milchama v'chamadome, yesh omrim she'osur l'shomei tzfir la'amad ha'makom k'fi she'osim achirim. One say that people should not stand still when they hear the siren. Michshash isra v'chosem lo selechu. V'yesh cholkim. There are those who argue. V'sovrim shema'achar ve'enosim zos b'li shum ta v'siba. V'gamein b'zeh mishum pritzus. There's no special reason connected to it. And there's no pritzus. Ein b'zeh isra. So he says, Va'ikar l'dina, she'im hu nimtza b'mokom shehemshech halichoso o nesiyosu, tigrom l'chilul Hashem. If he's at a place where if you continue to walk or drive, it's going to lead to a chilul Hashem. O tigrom l'machlokes.
That's for sure.
Or people are going to yell at you. Ve'eva, and there's going to be hate. Now this is amazing. We've always understood Eva
to non-Jews.
among the Gentiles. For example, we physicians are permitted to violate Shabbos for pikuach nefesh. The din is that's only for a fellow Jew. Me'ikar din, we don't do that. We're not permitted necessarily for Gentiles. We are permitted to do it because of the principle of Eva. So, but the Rav Ovadia Yosef is showing us that the concept of Eva occurs even among Jews. Because he's saying if it's going to lead to Eva, l'shomer haTorah mitzvahs, rishai lamad alamdo. So you're permitted to stand. Kivan shemekra din ein b'zeh isra mishum v'chosem lo salechu. And you should read Perek Tehillim be'Osa Shah. Rav Eliezer Melamed in his Pnei Halacha asserts that thinking about those who fall al Kiddush Hashem is itself considered Talmud Torah. Ve'efshar lahosif shehiru b'zichronam shel hakdoshim u'v'mitzvos b'sir sanefesh latzos ha'am l'kibush ha'aretz who hear or b'divrei Torah. V'gam mi she'enu mevin zos tzarich losim l'neged einav es divrei Hillel HaZaken shahara al tifros min hatzibur. There's also a concept that if the tzibur that you live in has established this as a minig, you shouldn't separate yourself from it. Rav Yaakov Ariel, who was the former chief rabbi of Ramat Gan, is probably the leading religious Zionist posek today, expands on the topic. La'or mar she'amarnu shekol minig she'afanu maskimin li'goyin sheyesh bo, that means if there is no violation of do not follow their statutes because there are customs where we see the logic in it. Remember, because we said, Chukas HaGoyim, one of the major gedorim is we don't understand the logic. But if we do understand the logic, so there's no inyan. Ein bo mishum Chukas HaGoyim. Tzorch iyun, ma din b'tzvir nishmas b'mazikor. So he addresses the question, what about the siren? Shken yitachin, she'af anachnu ayinu magim l'dover zegam biladeim. So first of all he says, we probably would have come to this minig even without them. Omnam ein sofek, shema'achar sheyesh lanu minagei avelus mishalanu. Now, we have our own minag avelus. Mistam alaynu nizkakim l'davar acher. He says, therefore, we might not have come onto the siren. We tear kriya, we have shiva, we have other minag avelus. So perhaps he wants to argue we wouldn't have come to this. Vaynu mistapkim b'limish mishnayis, we would have learned mishnayis, amiras kaddish, vaskar k'makubal. V'adarabbi yesh tam levgam bekach, she'ein ana mistapkim b'minagi yisrael mekulam midor dor. In fact, minhagim that we accept from generation to generation, the yotzim lanu minhagim chadashim asher lo sarum avosenu, we also establish new minhagim. Mikol makom gam anachnu im hayinu no im haynu rutzim l'shatei b'mamad simrei kol hatzibur kol elu b'tochu she'enim mesugam l'nispavel l'ilmod. So those that stand at the siren are people that don't have the practice to sit and learn. It's including them.
Or don't
Ki
go
gon
to
hedyotos filodim,
Or
ve'elu
they don't go to
shalom ve'einam
shul, so now
mesugalim
there's an
lilmod.
opportunity to do
So
it.
it's not because they don't learn. Yitachen shebatzmeinu hayinu magim l'rayon. So he wants to say we might have come up with this ourselves. That means we have learning mishnayos, etc. But as we developed our society and we realized there would have been a lot of people who are not mesugal to this, maybe we would have come up with this on our own. Shamida bisman atfil covered enough from derech hanausa. It's very honorific. Uma b'kach shlamanu saderech hazos magoyim. Who cares that we learn this? Because this is a practice that the other countries do. They blow a siren, they stand silent. So we did see this from other people. Harei amida lekovad ein adavar miyuchad lagoyim. So this is what Elazar said before. Stand, because there's a couple things. There's a siren, and then you stand in one place, standing in respect. So he wants to say that that's not miyuchad lagoyim. Hu yachas enoshi klal. First, he wants to say it's a human attribute. V'gam anachnu haynu noagim kach b'matzav bo anu nesunim b'vo'en lechapes derech homos lekaved sanoiflim shetiyeh mekubelas al kol hatzibur. We also would have gotten to the concept of maybe standing. But pratshish yesh b'cham roshim gadol shekol hamenadina, and there it says the kamadakos thing that sets up such a huge roshem, the whole country's coming to a stop. Ein lomar dahad gufa shatzibur ein mesugal lilmod mishnayos v'lo merkadish za'atzon mishum shu olech mechukas hagoyim amnan nachon hagoyim l'matzav zeh yach chikui legoyim ach kerega adavar nasa b'toch hergel v'matoch chikui legoyim v'rov rovish al tzibur tinik shenish. But he wants to say the fact that the people are doing it now, they're doing it out of practice. It's not that they're thinking about any reason why they're doing it. It's certainly not chukas hagoyim, says he. He says in our own sources, we see a concept that people stand to honor people. For example, mipnei sevat takum, uv'mishna masechta bikurim, sha'unim shayib Yerushalayim hayu omdim l'kovid mevia bikurim. The workers in Jerusalem, when the bikurim people would come, bring the bikurim, everybody would stand to honor them. V'chein kosav aturei zav, in your day at the Taz, sheyesh lamba b'fnei kol ha'osa mitzvah. So there's a concept of standing to give honor, even in our sources.
Talmud Chacham walks by.
That's mibnei sevat takum.
With Tkiyah Gedola, will people stand during Tkiyahs?
Well, there's a din, if you perform a mitzvah, if we learn it from Sfir Sa'omer, kama. So that's a din. Whenever you do a mitzvah, you have to do it standing. And we learn that from Sfira, and therefore Tkiyas Shofar, we stand because of that. Now, Tkiyas HaMiyushav, we still stand, because it was done during Amidah.
One is standing in silence while there is a siren or a horn going off. To us, it's like, yeah, we do it. It's like a Tkiyah Gedola. So I don't see.
Oh, so that's, you're connecting it to the siren.
Right.
Oh, the siren, okay.
My father was on a bus in Israel. He was about 90. He gets on the bus, there's no seats left. He was walking by. Bashir Bacher gets up and he sits right down. So my father said, "You're Mekayim the mitzvah." The same in Tokyo, but it didn't give him a seat.
He says, "Gamim naniach sheyesh kan isur shel halicha b'chukas hagoyim yesh loden b'nos hazeh mitzad eva." So he also talks about this concept of eva. Shezeh pshita sheim Yehudi hayachai ben hagoyim. If, for example, a Jew lived among the non-Jews, uviyom hazikaron lechalaleim hayu omdim, and on their day of remembering their soldiers, that they would stand. Hayachayavu gam hulam. He would be
We have
required
the
to
custom of
stand.
lowering the flag, right? If a great leader dies.
Go ahead.
That's a chukas hagoyim.
Go ahead.
You're not doing that on your Mazikah.
But there's a
It's
reason for-
different. You've created a different minhag.
No, so we have to explore each now one of these things. It's kedai to explore where does it fall under the Ramah and the Marik. There's no pritzus. Now again, it's a practice.
Kibbutz.
We don't know where it came from. So according to the Gra, we'd have a problem with it. But according to the Ramah and the Marik, it wouldn't be a problem.
No, why is it different from
No, I'm talking about
Kaddish?
lowering a
Honoring the
flag
dead.
lowering a flag to half mast, we don't know where that came from. I don't know, I mean, they
But
came
you
up with,
can
that's a
assume
military
you have to
thing.
assume it's a chukas agayis.
No, so we said, that's why the Marik said, there has to be an Indian priestess. Well, there's no Indian priestess there, so there would be the tzad to be lenient according to that. So, he wants to say that if the Jew who lived among the Gentiles did not stand, it would have caused hatred. He brings a raya from the Divrei Chaim, the Tzanzer, that sometimes you could over either Isser Torah because of Eva. He says this is going to lead to machlokas between Jews. He says it befeirush. The concept of Eva does not just exist between Jew and Gentile. Remember, in the time of Chazal, there were people who ate their chulin b'tahara. They were called chaverim. And then an Am Haaretz, it's not an unlearned person, it was somebody who didn't practice we just had this in the Daf Yomi. So there were fights between them. So we have to stop those fights.
But you have that today.
So yesh la'amod bizman hatzfira b'me'azikron. So of course he paskins that you should stand. L'chalei tzal chalei hashoah ve'en lachshu shel isur mitzad chukas hagoyim v'zos t'dei sheminag zeh ein minag shel goyim. It's not a minig of goyim. V'af yesh lo tam egioni, and there's logic behind it. V'yesh poskim rabim she'ef lo yismoch aleim lahakel b'shel hazu. U'v'gal hamatzav hadin bo am Yisrael nimtza. That means we're in a very precarious situation, like Walter said, between our brethren. Yesh lochush gam le'eva. Lachen yesh la'amad b'shas hatzfira. When a roy loyma b'shas amida es tfilas yiskor or avrim chadoma. Okay.
Let me ask you a question. When we stand
Next week, Thanksgiving. Meaning, the last of the Chukas HaGoyim is Chukas HaGoyim, and then next week, no, we're going to deal with the Shaila. Can we celebrate Thanksgiving, or is that considered Chukas HaGoyim? And then we're going to have Hilchos Menachesh, Mechashev, Ma'onim. Divinations, omens, and signs, magic,